Good morning to all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, PSA members, union members, to the press and all the folks who made it here today. My name is Anthony Williams. I'm from Point 410, one of the places hardest hit by the closure of Petrotrin and Trimmer. I'm the leader of the Trinidad and Tobago Democratic Front. I'm here to express my views on this draconian, outdated, colonial, seditious act labeled sedition. As an inspiring young leader, new in many ways, full of charge, powered up, and ready to represent Trinidad and Tobago citizens, my home borough and environs, many communities that makes up South, communities left underdeveloped and now look like shanty towns. Communities where our young population and children leaving schools have 0% opportunities, real opportunities. And many families struggling to keep food on the tables, a roof over their heads, and clothes on their children's back because of the many jobs stolen away like a thief in the night by this PNM government. 500 jobs lost in UTT. Add that, Trinidad and Tobago, to the many thousands of jobs now lost under this PNM government. And if we want to fight against that, talk against that, we acting and looking, we undermining and looking seditious. The PNM government undermining themselves by not holding true, not even to one manifesto promise. A government who seeks to muzzle young leaders like me, muzzle unions, muzzle our PSA, muzzle our press, muzzle our activist men and women, muzzle anyone who has a problem with this now government. And the way they do business, muzzle citizens and muzzle everyone who speaks against or speaks out against this government. Wrongdoing or corruption or bad spending. Trinidad and Tobago, we heading down a road of no return. So I'm making this call on behalf of citizens who understands what's at stake here. As the leader of the TTDF, I'm now calling on the PNM government to repeal, I say again, to repeal this seditious act labeled sedition in full, once and for all. Take it off the books. Right? Take it off the books. It has no merit in today's society and undermines and conflicts the constitutional right of citizens and the press. And I say again, it should be removed. Trinidad and Tobago, in a press conference in the office of the Prime Minister yesterday, citizens was told why citizens worry about something that is not something to worry about. called sedition. Then why we using the act, Mr. Prime Minister? Why not remove it? And I'm seeing it has begun to show its ugly political face, folks. It's real, and your children's futures and future generations can be taken back to colonial slavery, which has a hidden face in today's working environment and the way we are governed in Trinidad and Tobago. As young leaders, we must not be threatened by TNT's government 1275 seditionist label. We must always act to protect our great nation, our citizens, youth population, future generations, and the rights of our nation's children without fear or favor. And the Trinidad and Tobago Democratic Front will do so by always putting citizens, the rights of citizens, all your rights first. Let us together be the driving force as patriotic Trinbagonians towards reshaping colonial laws that protects, and I say again, that protects our slave masters. Trinidad and Tobago, that protects our slave masters. So, in 2018, November the 16th, Mr. Duke, knowing there were to be planned layoffs by the now government of Trinidad and Tobago to lay off TSTT workers, TNTech workers, and WASA workers, even workers from Point Fortin, trimmer workers, spoke on the issue. These are Duke words. As we know, there are many different paragraphs and statements of Duke words out there. I took this of the Express, I believe. So these are Duke words. Prepare to die, folks. You know why. Your beliefs and for your families. I'm sending a clear message to the now PNM government. Rowley, they know them doing citizens wrong, and that day they come for us in Wassa, we will be prepared to die. The morgue will be picking up people. So Trinidad and Tobago, these are the words that Duke was incarcerated for, right? These are the little sentences and words leaders like me and other young leaders coming up and activists could bring together as a sentence and end up in the same situation under the Sedition Act. To me, Duke could have meant, even if we die standing up for workers' rights, workers' belief, even if we are attacked by the now dictatorship. Yes, folks, I said it, and I will say it again, the now dictatorship, right? I was told to watch my words, but our leadership in government seems to move from leadership to a dictatorship. So I said it. Who has the guns, the army, and they have the police at their disposal? Today's union men only carry placards, as you know. Even when I was in Trimmer, even when we did strikes in Atlantic Energy with the union and under the union, You know, we had placards, we sing songs of peace, you know, because that is what the union is about. The union is not about intimidation. The union is about getting what is owed to citizens and protecting citizens' jobs, right? I don't believe Duke meant we will be attacking in full force. Come on, Trinidad and Tobago, let me be real here. Let us be real here. Many of us passed through the union, right? Many of us. So let us be real here. N.A.R. Robinson said attack with full force. That was the man. The man in 1990. 1990. And many people in charge today holding government position stood down. I could call a name, but I was told not to call no names. Stood down. Who are now tied into white-collar crime and political corruption against citizens. And this is what the unions fight against. Our working class, selling out our resources, reducing wages, not even giving any better living wages or minimum wages. We have no job security, it seems, anymore under this government. And now, Trinidad and Tobago, sad to say, soon, elimination of your unions. It has begun. Are we going to take this sitting down? Are we going to watch as citizens and hardworking people and people in the public service, the ones that someone called lazy, lose their jobs? So are we going to take this sitting down? Right? Are we? Using laws like sedition and others to strip citizens of your basic human rights. This is what's happening today, Trinidad and Tobago. This is what they are doing. This new order, where state can come in and take any one of us from our families at any given time and bring extreme anxiety, sorrow, and pain to many of us, our families also. We are no different from Mr. Duke. Those of us who stepping into this leadership position, those of us who want to make Trinidad and Tobago a better place for all citizens. I am worried as a leader, if my words are not within the law or disliked by our government leaders, who knows, soon I might be on their list. Who knows? And I could talk about being on the list when 2 police officers, I was told not to say anything about this, when 2 police officers, a young man like me, now starting a party, want to make change in Trinidad and Tobago, want to move Point Fortin from a borough, well, used to be a borough, from a shanty town into a city. 2 police officers reach in front of my family doorstep, Trinidad and Tobago. I was called in to be questioned. They say it was formal new political parties coming out. That was one of the things they do. But the way it was done, they had me calling the Point Fortin police station to find out who after me, honestly, and I've been honest with Trinidad and Tobago. I wasn't scared, no. I was angry. And that day, I might have made all kind of seditious remarks. Within the law. Within the law. Remember Trinidad and Tobago, that great man Butler. Remember that great man Butler. In Canada, I saw the Prime Minister of Canada moving with the unions, moving with working families and the working class. When last in Trinidad and Tobago, asking this question to all the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, when last you all saw your leaders moving with unions, shaking the hands of the working class, talking to working families, reaching out? When last? Think about that, Trinidad and Tobago. So this great man Butler and many others like him fought hard to give citizens that right. For us to become an independent nation, a republic towards having, again, I will say, our free press that brings that information to us, not just social media, that press that we need in Trinidad and Tobago to always be on top of things. I remember in the office of the Prime Minister, and I was looking at the press conference, and I find the Prime Minister was so little. When he told reporters, it's because of him they have this opportunity. And I would like to let citizens know, and the press, is not because of him, it's because of us, of citizens, all that had that opportunity, because we need to know the truth and what's going on with the government. And when he said to one of those reporters, I can't remember his name, that, I wonder if it was Mark Anthony, or I can't remember his name, that you're taking texts from them imps. You're supposed to be the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. You're taking texts from them imps, he told the reporter to ask me. And then guffed up, got agitated, as he always do, and complaining about his foot hurting him, and he's standing up here to do and do and do. Trinidad and Tobago. Manning said some words that a lot of us didn't take serious, and it's showing its ugly face. Trinidad and Tobago. So that opening for young and new upcoming politicians and union leaders, men and women, who wish to serve, to fight for citizens' rights, to fight for country, without having to fear any sitting government, not even mine, if the TTDF were to win, or Watson Duke. It hurts to see soon gone will be those days under this government. It hurts. I pray every night. I watch my children in their face, and I pray every night, Trinidad and Tobago. And I know you all doing the same. And I will say this to many supporters of white-collar crime and corruption in today's political link to the government, right? Trinidad and Tobago, when we talk about white-collar crime, they say they're looking for the big fish. We have red fish, we have carrot, we have sharks with white under the belly. And my belief, and I believe one day the evidence would show, that the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago just don't have to do with the operation of the little criminal minds that running up and down, but the white-collar crime that link within the government. We have to deal with things like these, right? So, this government trying to take away citizens' freedom and rights, are we going to let them Trinidad and Tobago, are we going to let them? And I have my hand together because I'm praying right now. Are we going to let them? Am I going to be hit with that seditionist label, seeing that I only believe in democracy and the way of the vote, Trinidad and Tobago? Let me protect myself again here when I say, are we going to let them? Because of this act, I have to make myself clear, just like a lot of other people. And when I say, are we going to let them, I'm talking about the way of the vote. So I'll raise my head and say, okay, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. DPP, and Mr. Commissioner, by the way of the vote. Okay? July the 13th, 2009, Trinidad and Tobago. Look at this. July the 13th, 2009, Trinidad and Tobago. The UK government abolishes its seditionist labeling and criminal definition against its citizens in full. Right? We using old English colonial laws, while the English updating their laws and creating a better standard of living for the citizens, right? So them abolish this law in full. In today's society where freedom and thought and expression should be a protected right in TNT, where enhancement of our Human Rights Act is needed, right? When it comes to citizens' rights, where we as a nation needs that of a real working law reform commission, Trinidad and Tobago, that can give recommendations to these offenses, sedition or not, and abolish or not what is needed and what is not needed. Our commissioner seems to, many say, have his head up in a situation that he cannot control. And I'm willing to work with him. It's not a problem. But he needs to start taking charge. And when he say it's not about the politicians, be true to himself. Our Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago recognizes and guarantees citizens basic human rights and freedoms. Do we know this as citizens, such as the right to life, liberty, and real security, Mr. Commissioner, real security, the right to equality before the law, and the right to freedom of expression? That right, that's now being stripped with this act from citizens. Government is trying to take away from citizens what is theirs with this act, with this sedition act. The Constitution of Trinidad and Tobago is supreme and the highest law of the land. It must be followed by the President, the Prime Minister, ministers of government, the Chief Justice, the judicial arm of the state of Trinidad and Tobago. That seditionist act takes away from our Constitution being a real and working Constitution in today's 20th century and soon 30th. After so many months has passed, we have to ask ourselves this question. The DPP and the Commissioner, who shared conflicting statements, different statements on Mr. Duke's issue, Trinidad and Tobago, we need to think about that, what's going on here. Right? We need to think about that. On the eve of elections, because elections coming up soon, we have local, which somebody seems that they don't want to, seems to look like they don't want to call it. I don't know why. He alone know. And we have general, right, coming up soon. So on the eve of elections, peepers, I will say peepers, in certain places, now decide to run with it. Mr. Duke's statements. And I'm saying, as a leader of the Trinidad and Tobago Democratic Front, Trinidad and Tobago, it's political. They could keep how much press conference they want and say it's not, and it's to protect the people and to protect the numbers of different race we have in Trinidad and Tobago. I say not, it's political. Because if the issue was about protecting race in Trinidad and Tobago, then the two parties who are sitting in government right now would have come together many years ago, and statements that are being made in Parliament would not be making all that advance in Parliament. And policies would be changed in Parliament to deal with racial slurs and bashing. It hasn't happened. So they could keep all the press conference they want. This is political, Trinidad and Tobago. Political. And I'm calling it out for what it is. Remember that guy from Princess Town? Princess Town, a nice place, now looking like a shanty town also. Nice place. Who made that seditionous post on Facebook against the Prime Minister. Right away, he was locked up, Trinidad and Tobago. Just as Sat and others, they were moved on. Quick was the word. Young people term, quick was the word that was moved on. Without any real type of investigations, none at all. Think about it, Trinidad and Tobago. It seems our leaders and investigative bodies live in the same dinosaur world of 1275. That dinosaur world that they want to keep Trinidad and Tobago in. It seemed those oppressive colonial laws and mindset by our leaders of red till you die works for them. It protects them and enhances them. Our citizens loses. Remember this, Trinidad and Tobago. Our citizens lose. Our youth population, nation's children, and communities where citizens' real development towards nation building and having real futures are threatened by this colonial laws and policies that works against us as law-abiding citizens. Trinidad and Tobago, I am one of you, law-abiding citizen, and protects red corruption and that 1%, that hidden face. A lot of people and leaders fear to talk about that, in fear of talking about that 1%, because they're protected also by the government, right? Why would any old government body wants to change what works for the office of the 1%? Trinidad and Tobago, when I talk about the office of the 1%, You know what I'm talking about. But I love the way the Prime Minister office looking right now, the White House. And lawmakers also, and financiers. And the biggest problem we have in Trinidad and Tobago, that it also protects political financiers. Again, I will say political financiers and political pirates. These colonial laws protect these people and takes from Trinidad and Tobago. Trinidad and Tobago, this law, sedition, is threatening the very fabric that makes us independent, that makes us a republic. Sedition will bury voiceless, dead bodies and faces, freedom of thought and expression, freedom of the press, and free speech, freedom to hold your government responsible and accountable for any unfavorable nepotism actions against citizens. Trinidad and Tobago, 57 years into soon 58 years, what we want to call independence. Do we feel independent as a people? We as a nation that's being kept back by all thinking leaders, political pirates, and parties consist of red, and I have to bring in this color, Trinidad and Tobago. We have to blame both, and yellow. Race, division, poverty, and class. Someone told me this. He don't even allow me to take a selfie in front of the business place. I won't call his name, but someone told me this. Trinidad and Tobago, someone told me this, and I'm going to say it to you. Right? Where we are. For blind are so many who choose not to see. For blind are so many who choose not to see. Trinidad and Tobago, we need to open our eyes. Stop being blind to the foolishness that's going on in Trinidad and Tobago. And when you think about it, Trinidad and Tobago, are we truly free? Are our nation's children, future, protected? Are their futures protected by today's free-for-all leaders? That's like when the government said citizens need to wear themselves off our government. But the government don't do the same for us. As a leader, I will say this to all my citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. Red and yellow needs to be Trinidad and Tobago. I hope I am not taking seditionists here or be taken as seditionists here. Red and yellow needs to be eradicated from politics or never again to be the holders of any government instrumentals in Trinidad and Tobago. And when I speak of eradication, I'm not talking about any traitorous or terroristic acts. I'm talking about through our democratic process. Trinidad and Tobago, let your votes be counted. Let your numbers be counted. Let that ink on your finger stain your fingers, Trinidad and Tobago. be our weapon of choice in these upcoming elections, especially in Tobago. I'm counting on you to do the right thing. You all know who you have to stand behind. You all see what's happening in Trinidad and what's being done to the island of Tobago, right? So let your votes be counted. So in the next upcoming elections, local and general, stand with us, the Trinidad and Tobago Democratic Front, and others who are in this fight to remove that seditionist act. So stand with us. We will protect the rights of all citizens. We will die also protecting the right of all citizens, and we will put all citizens first, just like the PSA and all the unions. And I say again, when I talk about eradicate, I'm not talking about no guns, no violence. I have to explain myself. I'm talking about the vote. To the powers in charge, this is what the TTDF stands for. And we are calling on all Trinbagonians to give our democratic voting process a real chance in the upcoming 2019 and 2020 elections. To all our citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, there will be a lot of ill will, hate and anger in these elections because of bad decisions by our leaders that left behind a lot of heavy hearts, have left many families displaced and many communities broken. Many citizens have been left jobless and left with many financial burdens. Many financial burdens. A lot of my friends who work trimmer, who are part of the union, who are not even part of the union also, have lost their jobs. They have bills to pay, they have mortgages, they have children to send to school and college. I even got news of many of my friends who lost their houses because it seems that the government didn't even say here, let we work something out with the bank that these people that we letting go, these people that might be left out in the cold, let's see what we could help them, especially when it comes to keeping a roof over their heads. That was never done. And monies that this Prime Minister said that was to be paid to many of these workers to date have not been paid. Very disappointed in the decision that Trinidad and Tobago took when they voted this morning. I am now calling on all citizens because I heard of some things and it seems that this election might be a hard one. This election might be one with a lot of violence because of the issues and the way, well, the position in which this government took us. And I'm calling on citizens, please, let there be no bloodshed. put borders aside, forget the wars, for we are all Trinbagonians. We are a great people, even greater united as one, especially when it comes to removing somebody by the vote. We have to think about we children's future, as I always say, and we country. We have to unite. We have to become one. We as citizens first must never again let politicians use us. We must never stand behind freeness. As old people say, after freeness, you're paying another way. And right now, a lot of our citizens are paying by the loss of jobs, by losing the jobs. A lot of communities paying is about 4 years going into 5, no real development. And our children are paying because now you see books are more expensive in Trinidad and Tobago, to talk for uniform. And the Minister of Education watering down funds that's supposed to go to schools and using it elsewhere, other government body using it elsewhere. And if we have a leader who say he care about our children, he's supposed to take leadership of that situation and get the job done when it comes to our children education in Trinidad and Tobago. So our children are losing too. We mustn't let race or racism or class divide us. That is a tool for years that many politicians, the ones who using the Seditionist Act also, been using. We have a politician talk about the dirty Rasta man shaking somebody's hands. I don't want to call no name, Trinidad and Tobago. I don't want nobody coming after me, but all you know who I'm talking about. Seditionist sentences. But the only man they want to focus on is Mr. Watson Duke. Again, I would say political. Why focus on one man? Trinbagonians must rise as protectors in defense of our nation's children. One of the reasons I got up and decided to get into politics in Trinidad and Tobago is because of my children. I'm not going to say how much, I'm not going to say the names, not even going to say where they live. Because under the Sedition Act and these statements today, maybe I wishing I wasn't living where I live in. Who knows? But I ain't afraid. What needs to be said needs to be said. And I'm saying it. And I hope many walk behind in the support of the union and the PSA and even the TTDF. When we call on this government, I say again, to repeal that act, remove it, make it disappear. We have to protect our children's future in Trinidad and Tobago. Our youth population, we have to protect their future also. Our youth population, they need a voice. Let us be their voice. Future generations will take Trinidad and Tobago where Trinidad and Tobago is supposed to be. In a dictatorship that will never happen. we also need to protect their futures. All Trinbagonians' real futures we need to protect. And one way to protect those futures, Trinidad and Tobago, is by the vote. I will also like to say before closing, all the best to PSA leader, Mr. Watson Duke, and his family. God bless and protect you and your family, sir. May your creative works and words of inspiration, because Mr. Duke is not such a bad man. I could give all that testimony of something he did in Tobago, where this orderly was just sitting around. Actually, he was talking to a young lady. And this woman and her mother was trying to push their wheelchair through the hospital door, and it keeps slamming on them, slamming on them. So I went to this orderly and I said, "Excuse me, sir, the young lady and she mother need help," and he was very rude. Same time I saw Mr. Duke passing, and I was like, "Duke, we could have a word?" One time, he pulled a meeting. And for that week, everybody was doing the job the way they were supposed to be doing it. Not a bad guy, not a bad guy. Not a bad guy at all. So I hope his works and his words of inspiration opens the eyes and minds and hearts of Trinbagonians and Tobagonians, especially Tobagonians. I'm speaking to you, Tobagonians, towards wanting more and bring greater economic and financial stability on the island of Tobago. I believe this man could do it. Mr. Watson Duke. And I will say this, when I say his arrest was political, right? I will say this, my friends in Tobago. I believe Duke is your next THA leader. And I hope Tobago make it happen. Let the power of your votes, Tobago, send a message to the man in Trinidad who is from Tobago. And I know all of might want him back there because he speaks of from Mason Hall to the White Hall. So it will be from the White Hall back to Mason Hall. And all of them want him there. But that is he home. Forgive him. Forgive him. For in the Bible, what they say? How it goes? Some do not know what they do. So Trinidad and Tobago, in the next election, let your votes be heard. Send a message to the PNM. With all your voices being heard in Trinidad, send a message. Let your voices be heard. I want to say one more thing about that Seditionist Act. They talk about we citizens talking about slavery and vexed because of our Slavery Act. But in the days of kings, anyone in violation of standing up for your rights was punished by the king, the King's Council, under this Sedition Act of 1275. So Trinidad and Tobago, when you think about that, an act that was used to suppress thoughts, speech and minds that is being used today, think about it, Trinidad and Tobago. We head into a dictatorship if we are not careful. Think about it. Thank you.